The opinions expressed on this program are those of the program host and guest and are not necessarily those of this station, management, staff, and sponsors. WSTU does not endorse products that may be mentioned. Any reproduction or retransmission of this broadcast is strictly prohibited without written consent of WSTU. It's time now for the Crown Car Care Show. Call in with questions and comments 220-9788 220-WSTU. Now, here's your host.
Hello. How would you like to escape in a box? And we're not talking Harry Houdini escaping out of a box.
Yeah.
We're talking about Carlos Ghosn escaping in a box. And it takes place about 30 years ago where all this started. Nissan Motor Corporation, which is an alliance with Renault, which is a French car manufacturer, was on the verge of bankruptcy. They hired a gentleman from Brazil with Lebanese heritage, educated in France, an engineer, super smart, but he had one problem. He was flamboyant, and he loved money, but he had the uncanny ability to turn things around. You know, Frank, you can turn things around by increasing revenue.
Right.
Well, three ways. You can increase revenue, you can decrease costs, or you can do both. He did both. He cut costs at Nissan. Well, first, let's say he was hired as the COO, Chief Operating Officer. Then 2 years later, he was promoted internally to CEO. He eliminated 20,000, I'll repeat that, 20,000 Japanese jobs. And for 20 years, he was the beloved child of Japan. In fact, there was polls that said they interviewed women and they said they idolize Carlos Ghosn to be the perfect father. He was paid 13 million euros a year, which translates into tad bit over $13 million a year in salary, which in the corporate world, I would say that's below average. It's a lot of money, Frank. Could you spend 13 million?
I can try.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
he had a run. In fact, at the end of his term, they had $200 billion a year. They in European and Japanese standards in accounting, it's called turnover, which would be total revenue. It's not profit, but they did $200 billion a year in sales when he was done with them. He was arrested. He had homes in, I believe, Rio, France. He had a home in Lebanon. He had many homes. I own one home. How many homes do you own, Frank?
Just the one.
He believed he had 5 or 6.
Yeah.
And he would jet set around. I believe he had his own private jet
Mm-hmm.
or Nissan's private jet. And coming into the Japanese airport at the end of his 20-year reign, he was arrested. And they said it had to do something with his compensation and misuse of corporate funds. But remember, he took a company from bankruptcy to profitability. We wouldn't know what Nissan is today if it wasn't for him. And who can remember what Nissan was before it was Nissan? Datsun.
Datsun, yes.
Datsun was the original company.
Mm-hmm.
So he was arrested, and he had to pay $13 million, which is roughly his annual salary, to get out on bail. And there was 2 conditions of his bail that were in his favor. And if those 2 conditions were not there, he would have, he'd still be in Japan. He did not have an ankle bracelet, and he was allowed movement within the country for 24 hours without having to report his movement. So which were 2 key factors in his escape.
Yeah,
house arrest.
Mm-hmm.
2 key factors. A Green Beret by the name of Michael Taylor was hired by him. He flew into Japan in a private jet, posing as a rock star musician that was coming to do a concert in Tokyo, Japan. And of course, if anybody has seen sound boxes and speakers and all the backstage as well as stage items that come with any kind of traveling rock band or music band, it's usually big boxes. So Michael Taylor brought in these big boxes, and of course, one of them was empty. And Mr. Carlos put on a dark pair of sunglasses. It was on December 19th, 2019. So it was right at the beginning of the pandemic, I believe. I believe the pandemic had happened over there before it had happened here. Happened here in January. He was wearing a face mask, dark sunglasses, a pair of jeans, and a T-shirt. And Carlos Ghosn, he was of short stature. They drilled holes in the bottom of one of these gigantic boxes on wheels that the stagehands use. And he hid in that box for 1 hour as they brought that box in a van back to the airport and loaded it on the plane. And he said it was the most terrifying 30 minutes because it was 30 minutes at the airport,
Oh, yeah.
Actually, in the box, it was only 30 minutes. Got on the plane and they took off and he was out. He went to his, Lebanon, which is his heritage, not necessarily where he was born. He was born in Brazil. And he lives there happily ever after. He has 24-hour security guards who happen to drive Nissans. Of course, all of his windows have bars on them.
So he's in jail still.
In a sense. Yeah, he's still in jail.
Yeah.
But
just a different.
But this escape was, I look at the three factors.
Yeah.
The fact that the same security guards were on detail at the airport, so they remembered the crew coming in, so they didn't do an inspection leaving.
Right.
First thing.
Yeah.
Second thing is no ankle bracelet. Third thing is movement within the country without having to make any kind of broadcast to the authorities. Those are the only three reason why Carlos escaped.
Yeah.
And now he's a fugitive.
He is.
With a lot of money.
Right.
And a big ego, but he pulled it off.
And Japan does not have a extradition paperwork with
That's correct. Lebanon.
With Lebanon. Right.
That's the Great Escape. And now let's get into the regular show. Welcome aboard, everybody. This is the first week in November here in Martin County, Florida. Boy, the weather is good today.
Yes.
I felt crisp. I did a little bit of walking this morning around 8:30.
Walking you hadn't anticipated doing.
Yeah, and the only thing I walked to a gas station, and as I walked back, I had a gas can.
See, if you had an electric car, you wouldn't have been doing that. You would have had an extension cord.
Yeah, right. Oh, yeah. Now, that's an interesting, what happens if you run out of, that could be a whole show.
Yes.
Yes.
We should have somebody from Tesla or one of those.
Tell us how they would do that.
Yeah.
You're forced to tell it.
Yes.
But today's Wednesday, and we're close to Christmas. I would have to say we're about, 7 weeks out, 8 weeks out.
Mm-hmm.
Thanksgiving's on the way.
Yeah.
COVID is nowhere in sight.
Yeah.
Not that I can determine. It seems quite gone.
The rates of infection are dropping dramatically. Deaths are dropping. Yeah. So it's all the numerical indicators are looking in the good range.
In favorability for it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one of the things I wanted to talk about was, and we had talked about, I don't remember whether it was this week or last week, but it was fluids and the different type of services that you need to do on a vehicle. And I thought I'd give an example. Let's take a 2016 Ford Explorer with 60 to 70,000 miles on it.
Okay.
I don't know, medium, high mileage. I don't know if it's high mileage, but it's on the higher side. You're approaching 100. And let's say that you have had no major issues with your vehicle. You've put brakes on it. You've done tires and you've changed the oil, the life of the vehicle. The year is now 2021. The car was manufactured in 2016, 70,000 miles. What do? I plan on keeping this car. The loan is paid off. I want to keep it for another 5 years. Maybe put 150,000 on it. What should I do to that vehicle to extend the life of it, prevent breakdown, as well as give it a clean bill of health? And where do you start? Well, let's start up front. The first thing, obviously, you need to do if you're getting ready to do a service is when the oil change is due, you want to do a good oil change and bring it to a place that does a full inspection. And who does a full inspection? Crown Car Care of Martin County. We have 2 locations to serve you. We've been in business for 16 years, one on Cove Road and one in Palm City. And I can tell you, my radio partner right here brings his vehicles to me for years.
Mm-hmm.
We've been servicing both of his Fords.
Yep.
That Explorer, once the oil's changed, let's move back to the next item. Then we're going to move back forward to the engine. Let's talk about the transmission. If you read the manufacturer, whether it be the service manual, whether it be the owner's manual, or a chart that shows what's due, it's going to tell you, wait for the transmission, and I'm going to tell you now. At 60 to 70,000 miles, we need to do a complete service fluid exchange on the transmission. Number 1. I can tell you if you personally were to check that transmission fluid, it would not be a clean, clear red. It would be a dark, blacker, maybe maroon color. Time to change that fluid. How much does it cost? $150 to $180. Best money you can spend on that transmission. Now let's move back a little bit further. Now we're going to move back to the rear end. And we're going to change the differential fluid. Why? Many people don't realize that inside that back where those 2 tires connect, there is a mechanism back there that transfers the motion of the revolutions or rotations of the drive shaft, which are connected to the transmission, and makes those wheels go round and round, whether it's in reverse or whether it's driving down the road. There are gears in there, there are bearings, and there is a thing called rear end lube. And it's a big, thick, heavy, high viscosity, almost looks like honey type substance. And it is of 90 to 140 on the weight rating of the oil, which we talked about, I believe, 2 weeks ago. We talked about viscosity. It needs to be changed. You can do it 2 ways. You can exchange the fluid through the fill hole, suck it out and put new in, or you can pull the cover off and do a full inspection of the gears and the bearings. Either way works. Obviously, when you pull the cover off, it's going to be a little bit more expensive, but more thorough. If you've had no problems, I recommend just doing a fluid exchange on it. We have machines that can suck out the old and put in the new. How much does that cost? About $140 to $150. Best money you can spend on that rear end.
What would it cost to replace the rear end?
$3,000 to $5,000.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, there you go.
$3,000 to $5,000. Transmission, $3,000 to $5,000. Real 3.
Mm-hmm.
Hands down, probably more than 3.
Yeah.
So
you'd probably have to buy some used components.
Components too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or they even be into more money. So those are 2 services that you would do on that 60 to 70,000 mile 2016 Explorer. Now let's move back up to the front. Now we're under the hood again. Let's talk about brakes. Most people don't realize that brake fluid is actually clear. I bet you if any of your listeners out there have anything from 40,000 miles on up on any vehicle, you pop the hood and check your brake fluid, it's going to be black. Well, why is it black? It's supposed to be clear. There's no engine there. It's just fluid. Well, things decompose from the inside out on the brake system, whether it be the hoses, whether it be the caliper seals, whether it be some of the copper that's in the steel lining of the brake lines, whether it's the movement of the master cylinder, which applies the brake pressure, has seals, there's dirt gets in there. There is water that can be attracted to the properties of the brake fluid, which we talked about 2 weeks ago as being hydroscopic. How much does a brake fluid exchange cost where we change all the brake fluid? Again, $150 to $180. Best money spent. How much does a master cylinder cost to replace? $500 to $1,000. How much do brake lines cost to replace? $2,000 to do all of them. How much do calipers cost to replace a piece? $300 to $500 a piece per wheel. Per wheel. And I'm.
Oh.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
I sneezed twice. Maybe it's the change of the weather.
It could be.
Or it could be I had honey roasted peanuts right before the show.
Yeah. Peanuts could be a problem.
Peanuts can sometimes make you sneeze. And when it makes me sneeze, I sneeze.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there it is.
Yeah.
Okay, so we talked about brake fluid.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about engine oil.
Yep.
We talked about transmission fluid. We've talked about rear end fluid. There's two more under the hood. And do you know what those are? Engine coolant and power steering.
Yes.
The last two. Let's talk about power steering. Power steering fluid is the same thing. It's a clear red substance. Sometimes it's clear, sometimes it's red, but it has on the clear side. There's a power steering pump on most vehicles. If you're electric, power steering, disregard my notice, but a 2016 Ford Explorer is not electric. So how much does it cost to do the power steering fluid, which is an exchange? You take the old fluid out and put new fluid in. Is it good for it? Yeah, prevents leaks, prevents breakage of the pump, prevents lines leaking. The list is so long, the benefits, that anybody arguing that we need to wait till 100,000 miles when the manufacturer says to do it, go for it. And we'll see how much you spend on your car.
Why do you think that the manufacturer would make that recommendation?
Makes it look like their cars are invincible. Oh, I'm only going to charge you $62,000 for Explorer Limited with tax $68,000. And you don't have to do any maintenance till you 100,000 miles. Can you believe that? Give me a lot of money now, and you don't have to take care of it till 100,000 miles.
So they're betting that the next owner will have an issue to deal with.
I think they're betting on selling cars, and that's what their business is.
Yeah.
Ford Motor Company, Nissan, we just talked about with Carlos Ghosn.
Mm-hmm.
Any car manufacturer, their business is manufacturing cars. Although I would argue that replacement parts are also their business.
Yeah.
So if you don't, Mr. Customer, as you know, we recommend, this is the manufacturer speaking, we don't recommend that you service any of your fluids until 100,000 miles. You must have had one of the flukes if your power steering pump blew out and it cost you $1,200 to fix. We are so sorry that happened. But our engineers have determined that you don't need to change any of the fluid to 100,000 miles. But it's still $1,200. As that customer leaves, another one comes in. Mr. Manufacturer, you told me that I could go 100,000 miles. And now my power steering pump burned up. And it's leaking. How much does that cost? Oh, that's $1,300, ma'am. Well, why'd that happen? Well, you know, we make millions of cars. Every once in a while, we have a defect. Or every once in a while, things may break. You've been driving that awfully hard, Mr. Customer, haven't you? Well, I don't know about that. Well, it's still $1,300. As that customer leaves, another one comes in. You see what I'm saying here? Right? It's called diffusion of responsibility. I take responsibility, and I tell my customers this is the right thing to do. And at Crown Car Care in Palm City and Stuart, we do the right thing. And that is going against the grain of the manufacturer when it's in the interest of the customer. End of story. Exchanging fluids, flushing fluids, servicing fluids, replacing fluids. It all means the same thing, except with flush. Flush is I think, a misnomer in our business. You're really not flushing. Taking the old out and putting the new in. That's all we're doing. Putting in fresh. Yeah. Being like getting a blood transfusion.
Yeah, it's an exchange.
It's an exchange.
Right.
The benefits are endless. The drawbacks, well, it's going to cost you basically per service. It's going to cost you between $160 and $180, $200. But it's the best money spent.
And it really has to do with the age of the age of the vehicle, the size of the vehicle.
Both.
Yeah.
It's the use of the vehicle. If you have a commercial vehicle, you do it a lot sooner. That's where you want to get your relationship with a service provider, and Crown Car Care can be that. And I urge you, I want you to be my customer. Will you please be my customer and experience the difference that we make at our business? You won't regret it. You'll love it. You'll like our friendliness. You'll like our service. You'll just like everything about us. We have 2 convenient locations. We have one on Cove Road, Stewart, and we have one in Palm City. Google Maps on iPhones will get you there. Um, Internet search will get you there. All of my shows that we broadcast on our radio that I'm doing right now are available on YouTube. Just type in Crown Car Care, and they'll come up. I'm getting ready to post a bunch of podcasts of my first 10 minutes of the show. But we would love to have you as our guests. We'd love to have you into our family so we can show you what we're talking about here. I'll show you the fluids, and the benefits are endless. Your power steering will, for the most part, it may even feel different. I can't guarantee it on every vehicle it's going to feel different, but time and time again, I've done transmission services. I've done fluid exchanges. And in fact, I can talk to you today about a vehicle that was just in our shop over at Cove Road, a Ford Fusion. And I'll tell you what happened with the fluid and why it made a difference, and it fixed it. So the last thing that we're going to talk about is the coolant, and that's the last fluid. So we've talked about the engine oil. We've talked about the transmission. We've talked about the differential fluid. We've talked about the brake fluid. And now we're going to talk about one more, engine coolant. And that's what keeps the engine cool so it doesn't overheat. There's all different kinds of coolant. How come they always say they last 100,000 miles? I don't know. I've been doing this since I was 15 years old, and I've never seen a fluid last 100,000 miles. I've never seen anything last 100,000 miles. Nothing. I've never seen tires. I've never seen a car without any type of repair or maintenance. I've never seen anything. I've never seen a fluid in my entire career last 100,000 miles that has the integrity, the viscosity, and the characteristics, and the cleansing and the cooling and the lubricating properties that the fluid originally intended to have. I've never seen it. And this is even before manufacturers stated that you could bring them 100,000 miles without any fluid exchange. Remember, there's not that much difference in the oils and the fluids than there was 30 years ago. Yes, there's additives. Yes, there's anti-foaming properties. Yes, yes, yes. But you know what? When it comes down to it, 90% of the stuff is still the same. It wears out. It attracts dirt. It gets water in it. It burns. It breaks down. The molecules get all jumbled and mumbled up. And at the end of the day, it has lost the characteristics of the designed intent of the fluid, especially coolant. Coolant gets nasty. If you, on a cold motor now, not a hot motor, you're going to unscrew or twist off the radiator cap, only on a cold motor. If you do it on a hot motor, you're liable to get third-degree burns. I don't believe that's the type of thing you want to do. So only on a cold motor, pop that cap off and look inside there with a flashlight. It should be a green color, translucent. It should be a yellow translucent, maybe a light blue or a red. Those 3 colors, red, blue, yellow, or green. One of those 4, you should see a semi-translucent, clearish color that has a chemical smell. That's all I'm going to note, a chemically smell. If you open it up and it's black and it has the most pungent, nasty, smells like dead fish type smell, guess what? Your coolant needs to be serviced a long time ago.
Right.
And I can tell you at 70,000 miles, it's going to have that smell. It really, it's not me on this radio show pontificating some wild idea that this guy in Martin County, Florida, Stewart to be exact, has come up with.
Yeah.
This is factual reality. This isn't any type of harebrained scheme for me to promote early servicing on your vehicle.
Right.
I'm doing this to save you. Right?
It's a customer service.
Customer service. That's it.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, do it. Is it going to stop your transmission from burning up? On some instances, no. But I can tell you that if you fall into the bell curve of average, you're going to have overall less problems with your vehicle. It'll perform more like it was when it was built. It's not going to perform better because all you're doing is putting the fluids back to what? Original. So it's not going to increase the performance. It may increase it over what you had at the time you did it, but it really just goes back to what the designed intent was of the vehicle.
Right.
Are there other fluids involved? Yes. What happens if you own a convertible top and all of a sudden you've been noticing over the years your top is getting slower and slower? Well, that's because the hydraulic fluid that's in your convertible top has gotten just nasty and thick and gooey, and it can't perform perform what it's supposed to do. So your top slows down. Can you change the fluid in your convertible top? Yeah, it's usually a mineral oil, real thin, green in color. What about if you have a supercharger on your engine for increased performance? Let's say you own a 2000 Shelby GT500, 2007, one of the first Shelbys made, 2007, had a supercharger on it. Is there a place to change the oil on it? Yeah. You think anybody does it? Well, more than likely on a Shelby, because most people that own Shelbys are more in tune with their car than the average person. But did you know that Buick for years made a 3.8 V6 on their Park Avenues that had a supercharger on there? You think anybody ever changes that oil? Think anybody ever has to replace the superchargers? Oh, you bet. They fail. It's an Eaton, Eaton is the manufacturer of it, which is a company, I believe, owned by GM. But there is an oil that you can change in the supercharger. There's a drain and there's a fill. Holds about a quart. Is there any other fluids that can go bad in your car? Yeah, I could probably cook up a couple more items. I don't know. Let's think. How about on a 1964 Lincoln Continental? Suicide doors, convertible.
Nice.
Did you know that the power door locks are hydraulic?
No.
Yeah. So are the windows, I believe.
Really?
Yeah, they had lines going to them. Yeah.
Wow.
In fact, the car that President Kennedy was in,
Yes.
Daley Plaza, I believe
Right.
that had hydraulic, had a massive pump right where the water pump. There's a water pump and a fan, and then sandwiched in between was a hydraulic pump that had lines that controlled all that. Not the power steering, a separate pump. Hydraulic door locks and hydraulic window motors. You think that fluid ever needed to be changed? You bet. Here's what I'm trying to tell you. If you're going to do the fluid exchange, like we're talking about, or just changing the oil on all the other things on your vehicle, one, you got to find someone that knows what they're doing. Two, you got to find somebody that believes in it. There's some people that don't believe in it.
Right.
They're nuts.
Right.
It's just not fact.
They just want to do the repair work.
Yeah, it's just nuts. Yeah. There's more money in the repair. If I don't tell my customers to do maintenance on it and exchange the fluids and maintain the vehicle, then I'm going to have more broken vehicles per 1,000 of my customers. Am I going to make more money? Yeah. It's not what I want, though. I want the interest of the customer to be served at its best. That's why I research all this, Frank. That's why I read this stuff. That's why sometimes people call me a walking encyclopedia of car knowledge.
Indeed.
I'm not. I don't think I am in my brain, but other people have labeled that.
Yeah.
I just think I'm a car guy that fixes cars, services cars, and takes care of people's cars. I'll repeat that. I take care of people's cars.
Right.
And part of taking care of that vehicle is looking out after the best interest of them, even in the long run, if it means less for me.
Yeah.
That's a hard concept a bit. Yeah. Less for me, better for you.
Yeah.
I want that. Do these services on your car, and I can tell you, you will call me in 2 months and say, wow, thank you. Yeah. The car on overall will feel a little bit nicer. Everything will perform just right. And when everything performs just right, it's like the Goldilocks porridge. It's just right. Coolant, brake fluid, you name it. Change that fluid. How much will it all cost to do it all? I don't know. $1,000? Best $1,000 you ever spent?
Yeah. What does a new car cost?
Oh, I told you. Let's say you bought a Ford Explorer. It was $65,000 This is $1,000 on all the fluids. Roughly. I can't be exact because some transmissions have very expensive fluids.
Yeah.
Some don't. Some are average. But I can tell you for around $1,000, you're going to get all the fluids exchanged on your vehicle, and you are going to be one happy camper. So give us a call, 772-781-8000, 772-781-8000. And on that note, we're taking a break.
We'll be right back, so stick with us.
Welcome back, everybody.
That was a fast
Let's hope it
2
wasn't
minutes.
confusing, this stuff about the liquids and the fluids on a car.
No, I found it to be quite illuminating.
Oh.
Yes.
Most fluids, 50 to 70,000 miles. Change it.
Yeah.
When in doubt, change it out.
Right.
And I'm just telling you that is fact.
Yeah.
This hype of we've come up with some super lubricant that defies all logic and science.
Mm-hmm.
It's magical. It's from outer space. It lasts forever.
Yeah.
Hogwash. Ain't lasting forever.
No.
Never.
No.
Ever. Ever. Ever.
Yeah. Everything changes with time.
Yes, it does. And here's
Mhm.
another tip for you.
Especially when exposed to heat,
Mhm.
you know.
I'm going to give you another tip
Right.
here that
Mhm.
is very, very interesting. Most vehicles, when you bring it in for an oil change, not at my shops, but I will say overall,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of cars today still have the Zerk, Z-E-R-K,
Zerk
grease
fit.
fitting on
Yes.
occasionally one or two items.
Wow.
And it never gets checked. When you go to a quick lube place or wherever, they're
Mhm.
focusing on the oil,
Mm-hmm.
right? And selling you what I've just been talking about,
Right.
the fluid exchange,
Mhm.
which is, I'm telling you, it's legit. Not at
Right.
30,000 miles, and that's where it can get a bad name.
Right.
Don't do it before it's time.
Right.
We will serve no fluid exchange before it's time at Crown Car Care.
Well done. Right.
When it's due, we'll tell you.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you too soon,
Right.
but I may tell you sooner, depending on your driving habits, than I'm even stating now.
Right. And if you do a lot of short hops, that's really
it's
hard on your car.
It's worse.
Yeah.
It's worse. It's like sprinting around all the time. Your knees are going to hurt. So,
yeah.
Fluid exchanges are valuable, but this grease fitting thing I'm talking about.
Yeah, the Zert
yeah, a lot of people,
Mhm.
if you bring your vehicle into our repair shops, our maintenance shops, which are one and the same,
Mhm.
2 locations, 772-781-8000. And yes, I want you as a customer. In fact, I'm going to talk about that in a little bit here. And we check to see if you have a grease fitting on there. And we're going to grease it. Do you know there's different types of grease?
Oh,
That's a whole nother animal.
Right.
You have synthetic grease. You have grease with moly grease in it, which is a real thick, heavy black substance that's added to it. You have lithium grease. There's all different kinds of greases, just like in paint. You were in the paint business, right, Frank?
Oh, yes, yes.
What's turpentine?
Turpentine is a solvent derived from pine trees.
Can that be used as a paint thinner?
It can be, but not the best application. If you use an oil-based paint, exterior oil-based paint, maybe.
It's very aromatic.
Yes.
It smells like pine trees.
Mm.
It does.
Yeah.
I never knew that until now.
Yeah.
So what's the other mineral spirits? Is it
mineral spirits? It's a distilled paint thinner, which is an oil. It's an oil derivative. It's from when they crack the oil.
Yes.
To make all the different things, kerosenes and
yes,
gasoline. So one of the things you can make from oil is paint thinner.
They shoot it up in the air, actually.
Do
a
they
big
really?
long tower. That's when you go to an oil refinery, if you see a long smokestack looking thing, that's the cracking tower. They shoot it up. They have the lighter oils go up higher and they catch it. So your lighter oils, your mineral spirits and things are caught higher up in the stack. The lower is the thicker fuel oil type substances, and it goes from there accordingly. And price isn't necessarily associated with the level on the it has to do with demand.
Yes.
Demand.
Yes. Yeah.
And as we know, oil prices have gone precipitously higher in 9 months.
They have.
Higher than logic explains. And I really don't have an answer for you. I don't know.
We used to be an exporter. We are not anymore.
Yeah, we cut the oil pipeline.
Yeah.
We stopped doing it. Don't ask me why. If I know that in our United States of America, if I'm building a pipeline to make oil prices cheaper and make us oil independent, I sure as heck ain't going to stop it. That defies all logic.
Yeah.
And I can tell you at Crown Car Care, we do not defy logic. We run with logic. It's the name of my business. If I went on feelings and passion and what I thought without using science, without studying, without deep research, without analysis, without checking things, without using multimeters and scan tools and electrical devices and pressure checkers and machinery and lifts, I would be doing you a disservice by selling you a bill of goods. And I don't do that. I only use what is correct fluids, correct equipment, and we get to the correct answer. And that is it. But now I'm going to talk about my business.
Okay.
And you might not expect to hear it from me, but I will tell you this. I've been in business 16 years. And gosh, I can tell you after this COVID thing, it's gotten difficult. It's gotten real hard. My prices have gone up. There's been attrition. People have there's people that have lost their livelihood in our world. There's people that have dropped off the radar screen. There's people that pretty much have left, whether it be Martin County, that have dropped off almost the face of the earth. And I can tell you in my business, my prices, wages I have to pay have gone up precipitously. And there's one thing I haven't done is I haven't raised my prices. I'm going to ask everyone that listens, help me out. Come and visit my business. If you're going to change your oil, if you're going to get a repair, will you come to my shop? Just come to my shop. You'll help me out. It's tough surviving as a small business in a big world that is full of vultures. And I'm just a little guy. I have 2 shops and we have a family run. And you know what? Every new customer that would come into my business will help. And I need your help. All the customers out there. Next time you need an oil change, just come to my shop. Try me out. I can tell you, you'll be helping my family. You'll be helping the employees that work for me because every bit counts in business. And today it's so difficult. It's so difficult. Just everything I have to do to run my business has almost a thirded with what I have to do. And you know what? By you coming to me and letting me show my excellence, letting me show what I'm all about, not only are you going to get the best service, which I'm going to be giving to you as the benefit. So I'm going to give you great service. I'm going to talk to you real about your vehicle. I'm going to make it so it performs and functions correctly. And I'll give you the right maintenance. And all I'm asking from you is just come to my business. And if you can do that, we both win. And when we both win, that's just a great thing in life. So thank you. So if you're listening and you're not sure what to do with your car, call me. We want you as a customer.
781-8000.
There you go. Let's take another break.
We'll be right back. And we are back.
And it's now time for the Frank Hour of Power, the news. Give me some news, Frank, some automotive news.
So, autonomous delivery startup Nuro just raised $600 million to establish a valuation now set at $8.6 billion. That's with a B. Wow.
Frank, you got any news about Ford Motor Company?
Ford has got a new idea that I'm not too sure that their employees are keen on, but they have developed a COVID-19 vaccine mandate, which is ordered for most of their salaried U.S. employees. The date is in line with the Biden administration's vaccine deadline for federal contractors. So
we'll let the employees of Ford make that decision whether they like it or not. I don't really know because I don't work for Ford.
Right. Yep. And in conjunction with that, more news. Ford, Toyota, Honda, Hyundai, Kia all had slipped sales figures.
Now, I wonder is it from lost sales due to chip and supplier issues? I bet it is.
Yes.
So it's not any hiccup in their performance, and it's a hiccup in just the world.
Yeah. So we talked about this briefly last week when John was doing the show.
Yeah.
And so it was an interesting take that we had on that. And that is that Tesla saw that they took ownership of the chip problem. And
how did they resolve? What did they do?
They resolved it by rewriting the code and using off-the-shelf available chips that were already, they weren't the same chips.
But they made those chips work.
Yes.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yes. So they took ownership and they leveraged that ownership. And rather than being a passive, waiting for somebody to provide you with a product that you need to complete your product.
Yeah.
They took ownership and just fixed it.
Do you know anything about, Frank, about this new? I've read rumors that there's some new 500-mile range electric car. Do you know anything about that? What can you tell me?
Lucid Motors. So they have just a beautiful design. One of the previous Tesla employees, during the beginning of the
chief engineer for design.
Chief engineer, yeah.
Yep.
He left Tesla and decided to start his own company and just produce a gorgeous vehicle.
A guy by the name of Peter Rawlinson.
Yes.
Is the head dude.
Yes. And the design is,
I believe, let me look here. I got a little data on this.
Mm-hmm.
I just happen to have it.
I
just happen to have it. Isn't that nice when you just happen to have something?
Yes.
About 170,000.
Yeah. Yeah. It's only money.
Now,
yes.
Here's the kicker on this car.
Okay.
So, price point is how much what's a Model S cost loaded? 120, 130?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and these are 170 starting. So, you're not going to be getting them for 170.
Right.
You're probably going to be paying 190.
Yeah.
I mean, that's with tax over 200,000.
Right.
So almost $250,000.
Right.
But remember, we're technical people. We talk about how they work, how they function, how the world gets its money, who gets it, how it's distributed, and how you make it,
Right.
and how rich you become to buy things is irrelevant in my world.
Right.
I don't determine those factors, nor am I involved in the distribution of wealth, how it should be distributed, whether it's fair or not. I'm not going to tell you, say a word. I'm just going to tell you that this car's kick butt.
It's awesome.
It's got 1,000 horsepower.
Yeah. And it looks, it's just gorgeous.
And I'm going to tell you the two things that they are actually beating Elon in. Battery density,
right,
which is energy per pound,
right,
and the miniaturization of the powertrain products. It's about a third lighter.
Yeah.
Two things.
Right.
Now, they're a startup.
Right.
What happens when you're a startup? You've got seed money to burn that you really don't have to account for.
Yeah, true.
That's gimme money because people have taken the long bet, right?
Right.
They've taken the long bet that their hedge money or their seed money is going to succeed over the long haul. What happens when you're an established company? You've got investors that are investing in your company for the consistency of earnings.
Right. So you have to be more conservative.
So yeah, that's my whole point here.
Yes.
You see the point here?
Sure.
It's a big difference.
Yeah.
Okay. But what we don't know is this thing actually going to reach production? They're not in production yet.
Really? I thought it
was.
No,
you can't buy them yet. Nope. Brand new.
They're taking orders.
But they're taking orders.
Yeah.
They're out there, the samples, but no.
Okay.
This is December 21, Motor Trend magazine. I'm looking at it right here.
Okay.
One of the editors of Motor Trend drove the thing from Los Angeles to San Francisco, and yes, it does get 500 miles to a charge.
Nice.
That's
a game changer.
Incredible.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's better than a hybrid.
Right.
But I don't know. How do we know about quality? How do we know about rechargeability? I know it's 900 volts, so it will charge in a quick hurry. Okay. But whose charging system are they going to use? The only one out there that's really got level 3 chargers is good old you-know-who. The man from South Africa. Or actually born in Canada, I think. Elon.
Yeah.
He's the one that's got the hustle on the chargers. And he does have the hustle. He's about the only one that's got it.
Right.
Consistency of level 3.
Right.
Level 3, for everyone who was wondering what level 3 is, you have level 1, 2, and 3 in the electric car world. Level 1 is your 110 outlet that you plug your lamp into. Level 2 is the outlet plug that you put your hot water heater into. Right? Both AC, 220 or 110. It's doubling of the voltage. So level 1 is 110. Level 2 is 220. And level 3 is the infamous direct charge DC to DC. It pipes in electricity at an ungodly rate through a big old pipeline. And there's infrastructure required and big money. Yeah. The big money is the build out. You have to have huge storage batteries at the charging station. It's just an infrastructure that's a monstrosity because you basically are taking the current electricity that your local provider for here, BFP&L, and you're converting it into DC power and then pumping it into the car. So there has to be some kind of capacitor system that dampens and holds just buoyancy of the electricity. So, which means you have to have batteries.
That Maxwell purchase that Tesla made makes more and more sense.
You understand? Yeah. Okay. So there is a chance that Lucid. Oh, they also have better interiors. So Lucid is just we don't know yet. We do know that Tesla is on a roll. We know Lucid is up their tailpipe. Well, there is no tailpipe, is there? They're up there.
Their plug-in charger.
Up their plug-in charger with heavy competition, but at twice the price, roughly.
Right.
It's roughly.
Yeah.
Twice the price.
Yeah.
Roughly twice.
Right.
That's a big price differential, especially when you're talking large numbers.
Right.
30 to 60,000, 15 to 30,000. Yeah. But when you're going from 100 to 200, that's a big old jump. You've excluded a large part of your market share. So basically, this is an exclusive car for the elite.
Yes.
The elite proletariat of the world.
Mhm.
Okay, we're down to 3 minutes, people, on the show. Anything you want to talk about, I can talk about. Let's talk about a service that we could do at Crown Car Care.
All right, let's talk about that.
Jeeps. You got a Jeep and you want to customize it. You want to put big wheels on it. You want to put a lift kit. Guess who can do it?
Todd can do it.
We do it.
Yeah.
We do it all the time. In fact, one of my good friends in my business group, MCEBE, Martin County Business Exchange, has a Jeep. I'm getting ready to put new seat covers, reupholster his front seats, and I'm putting a lift kit and nice tires on it.
Nice.
Jeep JK. If you got a Jeep JK, the world is unlimited with what opportunities you can do to that Jeep to make it look cool. You want to personalize it, customize it. You want to make it look like it's your vehicle and nobody else's. Come to Crown Car Care and we can help you out.
JK. What does JK stand for?
It's just their model number designation for the newest rendering of the Jeeps.
Ah, okay.
I believe from like 2012 forward, they're pretty much the same. So if you want to get a good magazine that kind of shows you all the opportunity, Tread magazine, TREAD, a guide to automotive adventure and outdoor lifestyle. The Tread.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and there's all kind, and it's very inexpensive for Jeeps. And you may ask, what's inexpensive?
Yeah.
What's a lift kit cost?
I have no idea.
It's going to be about $1,200 to put it in.
Well, that's not so bad.
A smaller 2-inch lift kit, which gives you a little bit of rise.
Right.
So you have the power over the road. You'll feel like you're a big rig trucker driving over the road, having empowerment over the rest of the vehicles on the road. You'll feel bigger. You'll feel more powerful. You'll feel more confident if you do a lift kit.
Nice.
And how do I know?
Yeah.
Because I drove my truck with a 6-inch lift kit today to the show.
Oh.
I have a Ford F-250 with a 6-inch lift kit and gigantic 37-inch tires. It's so big you could drive over a car.
How big is
That's how big it is.
You can drive over a car.
You could, and I drove it here.
Especially over my little car.
I
right?
could drive right over it if I wanted to, but I didn't, and it's a diesel. And boy, did I enjoy driving it here, and I'm going to enjoy driving it home.
Well, it sure beats walking.
It sure beats walking like I did this morning. Gas can in hand. Have a great day.
Thanks.
Have a super week.
Yeah.
We'll see you soon, and Christmas is coming.
Yeah.
And I've heard rumors
Yeah.
that Santa Claus has got an electric sled this year.
Okay. Well, we're going to have to
Keep
interview
your eyes
Santa.
peeled on that.
Yes.
Yep.
All right.
Everyone take care.
Stay tuned for that. And we'll see you next week right here. Don't forget to give Todd a call at 781-8000 Crown Car Care.